What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the markets right now. I'm going to talk about SPY and Tesla and the QQQ and a couple of others, break down what levels to watch for and what the formations are telling us, and talk about some very important levels to look out for. Before I break anything down about all this information, though, before I talk about what's going on with the markets, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice, and don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. Put in $100 and you're guaranteed up to 10 free stocks. Anyways, let's break down what happened to the markets. Why did SPY get this pump today after it dumped in the morning? So I warned you guys in the morning we may see a lot of sideways choppy price action today, and we did see a lot of that. But I also warned you guys that around 10 o'clock a.m. We would have likely seen a lot of volatility after the data that came out, and I wasn't sure if the market would break out or if the market would come, tanking down. That would depend heavily on the data, but I wasn't really expecting the market to pump that hard because we were getting some, a lot of signals telling us that the market would just continue to chop around, trade sideways, and maybe even slow down over an extended period of time. The market has been slowing as time went on, but we got this big pump instead. It pumped quite hard, and I told you if SPY broke 427.5, watch the next resistance at 428.5. Instead, it went to about 428.45, about 5 cents off, and that was very close. But that was just one of the hypothetical bullish scenarios I mentioned. I wasn't as confident about a move like that. And the real question is, why did that happen, right? Why did the market make that big move? And the real reason was because of the data that came out. The economic optimism index report came out at 41.7, which was higher than what the forecast was. The market loved this because the market is more optimistic than before. It was at 41.6 before, so very similar, if not a tiny bit higher. This was well above the forecast. This tells us that the overall sentiment in the economy is not extremely bad for now, not as bad as expectations, and the market responded very positively to this. Seeing how much shorting there was, we saw lots of short covering that helped the market pump. So now what's going on with the markets? What's happening with all these levels? Well, it's very boring. We're just kind of like range trading, going back and forth and back and forth. And there's no confirmation of like a very strong move in either direction right now. Now, let me zoom out and show you guys what some people are mentioning, and that is, this possible, I think it's right here, this possible head and shoulders. I mean, it's not really looking that nice as a head and shoulders, but it is a possibility. However, like I said before, there's no confirmation of it until we get a breakout of one of the levels. And I'm going to break down what these levels are. So SPY is holding the 50 EMA, which is at 427.05 on the 30-minute time frame with the extended hours. In my opinion, I believe that it's super important to be looking at these levels because 427.5 is resistance. If that breaks and if it could hold this over like a 30-minute period to get a 30-minute close above that, right? Not just like us pumping and then coming right back down like this candle. If we manage to hold it and then get a 30-minute close above it, that would be a bullish signal and could make its way up to this 428 to 428.5 level. If it fails to do that like it has so far, and we are losing some momentum here, so it's not looking the strongest, we're going to be still watching the support. It is holding above it. If it breaks below this support at 427.06 to 427 flat, expect it to come all the way down. I would say closer to 426.5. If anything, it would likely come a little bit closer to that. But once again, guys, it's not a massive move. It's only like a 60-cent drop. It's not that big. It's very, very sideways and choppy and very much just range trading. If 426.5 breaks, then you're going to be watching major support at 426 flat. 426 is very important because if that fails us, then we have this 425 to 426 range to look at, right? This is a very important range right here. If it breaks below this, it's going to come tumbling down quite hard. But for now, it hasn't done that, so we still have to wait for confirmation if making some kind of move. There's always the possibility of us unexpectedly pumping more, by the way. I'm not leaning in that direction, but it is a possibility. And I just want to note that it's important to be prepared for this, just in case. However, if you want to turn to a mega bear, honestly, guys, I'm not a mega bear or a mega bull. I just react to the charts and talk about what they're telling us. The market is just telling us that it's just range trading, not doing too much. And we need confirmation for us to see a big rug pull, right? We need confirmation first. We're not getting it yet. And that's why you have to watch these levels. Watch the support zone very carefully. Now, Tesla was a little bit stronger than what I expected. I thought Tesla would remain very choppy and sideways. I called out a bearish divergence on Tesla, which did play out intraday. Tesla got this sell off to 212.5, but then bounced off that. And then the next zone to watch for was 217 to 217.83 to almost about like 218, that entire zone right there. And you could see it managed to break 218. A clean break above that, then the next level would be in the 220s. And 221 specifically is the major resistance now. And Tesla has been fighting that resistance. Now, if Tesla could break 221 and hold it for 30 plus minutes, get a 30-minute close above that, and we manage to remain bullish on our MACD, Tesla has the potential to go to 222.74. And if it does the same thing, breaks that, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to breaking it, in a clean, strong manner, it has the potential to go all the way up to 225, almost 225, basically. This zone right here, resistance, that is very possible, but we need confirmation of the break. Instead, if Tesla comes down, 218 is going to be support. If that fails us, 216.67 to 217 is going to be support. If that fails, then 214, then 212.5 is going to come. So those are support and resistance levels to watch for. But here's the thing. Look at the last 2 hours of Tesla. It was pretty much just boring. I mean, Tesla went from 218 to 221, back to 218, back to 220, 220.5. Now it's trying to get closer to that, just going back and forth and back and forth. The sideways price action, which I was thinking was going to happen earlier, it's just that Tesla pumped a little bit more than expected and then did the sideways thing. So kind of boring. We're just waiting for one direction to break. It's just going to continue like this probably for an extended period of time. But for now, like I said, very boring price action. We're going to be watching which level it breaks at. For the QQQ, it's no different. Pretty boring, but a little bit weaker than SPY and Tesla. It came down, got a false break to the downside at 353 almost. And that's a very important level I will discuss in a couple of seconds. Then it got a nice pump just under 356. To turn bullish, it needs to hold 356 for at least 30 minutes. For a 30-minute close is what I mean. Hasn't really done that. It failed to do that, so it came right back down. And now it's just going back and forth and back and forth. Support, okay, one level that's very important is 354 exactly. That's going to be a very important support. The 50 EMA is acting as some resistance at around 354.6. So watch them the 30-minute time frame at the extended hours. And then if 354 fails us, there's 353. This entire zone, 353 to 354, they're both very important zones. If it breaks below 353, that's going to be your confirmation that this head and shoulders may play out. These patterns are not always guaranteed to play out. Sometimes they could be used as tricks by the market makers to trick lots of investors. But there was this bearish divergence that has been playing out. There's also a bigger one, I believe, when you zoom out, that technically is still valid. And as long as the QQQ fails to break this high up here, the odds will greatly favor it cooling off in the future. It's just that even though that's like what the bigger trend is telling us, there's no confirmation of it breaking down yet. We need confirmation first. The odds favor that happening, but I'm not completely inclined to that direction until it actually gets to break it. That's why I've been talking about the levels. But I do believe the odds favor that happening. It just may take a while because of how choppy and sideways this is. So it might not be until like closer to, I don't know, tomorrow, maybe even Friday, by the time we finally get down to this 350 level. I've been talking about that. So you have to be very patient in this market. But once again, you need confirmation to have more conviction of that actually happening. So that's why you're going to be watching this 353 support very carefully. If it does break, there's a high probability it's going to eventually start downtrending a lot more. That's going to be a very bearish signal. And I'm just watching these levels very meticulously. For the time being, it's very boring, and we just have to watch and see which level breaks. To turn bullish, you need 356 plus. You got to hold that for an extended period of time, and there's going to be a good chance of it trying to continue to push. If it fails to do so, it's just going back and forth and back and forth. Specifically, it's been stuck between 354 and 355.46 to 355.5 like for the entire day. That's $1.50 just back and forth and back and forth. It sold off a bit, went up, then down, then up, down a little bit, down more, back up, came down. Now it's just stuck. Yeah, very, very boring, not really doing anything. Now let's talk about just a couple of others. Neo is starting to pump a bit. It's up 2.61%. I was calling this out previously. Got a false dump in the morning. Got a nice bounce after that. Now it's above the 200 and the 50 EMA. I'm going to be watching this thing get closer to $8. Neo looks nice. I've been calling this one out. I really like the setup. Not saying I'm going to like load up on like options or anything like that before or even through earnings. I'm just saying approaching earnings, there's a good chance it's going to try to continue going. For the QQQ, let me see this. On the QQQ, there's still technically that bearish divergence. It's still valid. Uh, Not really doing too much. It did test the zone I was talking about, the 50 EMA yesterday. Oh no, in the morning it did, then tried to balance, but it's still, once again, the trend is favoring the bears a little bit more, but it's still trading sideways. So even though it's making lower highs, right, the bigger trend is not looking as strong. It's still just trading sideways, not doing too much. The VIX is down a little bit with the market, which is kind of surprising. The VIX should be bouncing over the next couple of weeks. It still is trending down, but is holding this 14 as support, so we'll be watching that. And I mentioned the Nasdaq is the trend is favoring the bears a little bit more, but like I said before, there's no confirmation of it actually breaking down if it's above the 50 EMA. So it's very sideways for now, but the trend is still not looking the strongest. And I just wanted to note that. As QQQ, I know a lot of people talk about this. Very sideways, not really doing anything. It's just range trading, just like the QQQ. But there is a good chance that it may make an attempt to bounce and break to the upside later on. It may take like a week or so. I say that based off the fact that it's holding above the 50 EMA and it's been making higher lows over the last couple of days. It also has this inverse head and shoulders like formation technically, but to get confirmation, you need to see this thing break and hold above 22.25. If that happens, watch the 50 EMA. If it breaks that, then it's going to come flying up, and the QQQ is likely going to come down because of that. Aapl looking kind of weak, not really doing too much. It came very close to the zone I talked about, this 178 zone. If it broke below 180, and it's been stuck between 180 and like 178 for almost the entire day, back and forth and back and forth. Pretty boring. And last but not least, Nvidia looking a little bit weak, getting this bearish crossover from the 3-minute time frame, but it's trying to bounce off this 180 zone. And now it's testing 185. So it's looking okay, not looking too horrible overall since it's very close to where this wedge is. But at the same time, not very strong either, just in the middle. And this still not looking too great. It is above the 50 EMA, so it's kind of like so for that reason. Some good things, other things are not too great. And if Nvidia fails to hold this level, if it breaks below the 200 EMA, it's going to retest this low and potentially come all the way down, back down to 377. If it holds above the 200 EMA, there's a good chance it could get a back test right here in the higher 380s. So we're going to be watching these levels very carefully. It did break below the wedge, but that's not true confirmation yet of it breaking down. So just be very patient and do what you have to do, guys. And watch these levels carefully. The market's range trading is kind of boring, but it's always important to watch the levels. You could scalp. If you're going to scalp, look at the 3-minute and the 5 minutes. You could look at the 1 minute. I just don't like to look at the 1 minute for too long. I prefer like the 3-minute. And you could scalp these levels. That's what I've been doing. It's been working very well. But like I said, be very patient and do what you have to do. All right, guys, thank you for listening. I will be back in a couple of hours, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.